Hello, welcome to my channel. In the last tutorial on Learn ServiceNow with Ahmed, we discussed about creating users. The simulator's task was about creating users. We create an RT user, service desk users, employee service, self-service user, among others. And we assigned roles to them, and we assigned a user to a group. So according to the task requirements, if you haven't seen the video, you can kindly go back, check the videos on this channel and go back to it. On today's task, we are asked to configure mandatory fields on an incident form. Why is this important? When we are customizing our forms, some service now comes with out of the box states, some out of the box features in which those features might not really be applicable to our organization. Maybe in our organization we need something more or we need fewer options from what we have from the out of the box. Then with these features we're able to configure. Now here we want to configure the mandatory field on incident form according to task requirements. Let's read it. In order to have more accurate data for reporting and trend analysis, certain data points should always be mandatory on an incident record. This will also help with more accurate routing and resolution work. Additionally, we need to ensure that an incident does not get lost and is always assigned to an individual. It has been moved once it has been moved from the new state. Tip: we do not want to impact any of these fields that appear on other records. You might use a dictionary override to make this mandatory on incident records only. How might you use a dictionary override to make this mandatory on incident record only? The task one is now set the following fields to be mandatory at all times for incident records: caller feed, category feed, subcategory feed, configuration item feed assigned to field, and short description. Yes. With this requirement, from out of the box, now we go to our ServiceNow instance. Okay, from our incident form, previously we've made incident among our favorites. Okay, yeah, we made our incidents among our favorites because we'll be doing much work on the incident I assigned. I made it as part of my favorite. Now I go to my incident table. I can open any of the incidents. We open our incident records. Let's say this. Okay. Once we open the incident to configure, we see that the fields that we want to modify according to the requirements. According to the requirements, we have to make these fields mandatory. Use our dictionary override to make caller feed, category feed, subcategory to make them mandatory for incident records at all time. Now, caller category, subcategory. Okay, we go to this. Let's make caller feed. Actually, caller feed. This is tricky. Caller feed is mandatory here, but we have to check. Let's go to our configure dictionary. There is something I want to show you. From here, we click on dictionary override. So if you want to make, as we know that incident record, it's inherited fields from the task table. So if you want to go to the field that it is specific to the incident table, then we have to come to this. Once we see what we are having here, caller, this is on incident table. Yes, we are on the server side. Then we check it is mandatory. We click mandate, we check our mandatory box here. Okay, Once we check our mandatory box, we update. Yes, we have made the first one mandatory. Okay, we have the category field. As you can see, the category field is not mandatory. Then we have to make category field and subcategory fields mandatory. Once they are mandatory, we have that star in front of them. So here we'll go to configure dictionary. Configure dictionary. On the configure dictionary, then we come here. We make it mandatory. Update. Category has been made mandatory. Here to configure dictionary. Subcategory. We have to ensure that the table is on incident because all of these requirements only on our incident table. Okay. Configuration item, assignment group, and short description. Configuration item, we click configure dictionary. Here, we need to understand from configuration item here, if you check, the previous fields that we made mandatory, when we click on dictionary file, it brought us directly to the dictionary entry in the of the incident table. But here, it is the task table. So we need to be careful. If we make it mandatory here, the configuration item will be mandatory on the task table and it will be inherited by all other tables inside except we do something different. Now, since we know that this is our task table, this configuration item is referring to the task table. We come to dictionary override. So we find the incident, we click on the incident. Then here, anything we are doing here for the configuration CMDBCI, for the configuration item field, it will be here on the table, on the task table here. Then we click on override dictionary, override mandatory. Yes, then we check mandatory. Once we have done it here, that's this, we have modified for only the task. I mean, only for the incident table here, we update it. Yeah, we update. Okay. The next on the list is our assignment group and short description. Short description, configure dictionary. Our short description also, it brought us to the task table. Then we click on dictionary override. We look at the table that we are working on. Incident. This is not. Where is the incident? We don't have incident here. If you check all of the tables we have here, they are only for incident task, and we are referring to the incident table. Then here we can create a new table. We can create new. Then go to our type incident. The table that we want to have it on is our incident table. Yes, we have our short description on the incident table. Then we click on override mandatory. We check it. We check the mandatory. So we have achieved two things here. We have created a new record on the task table in our dictionary override. We have added that short description. As you can see, we have it here. Then we update it. Now the short description is mandatory on the incident table. The star we have here previously before we created a new record in our dictionary override is uh, it was inherited from the task table. So, but now we have it specifically on the incident table, and we have our assignment group. We are asked to also make assignment group mandatory. Configure dictionary. Okay. Do we have, okay, we have this here on the incident table before override, override mandatory. We check the mandatory. Yes. And we are good to go on this too. Update. Yes, we have completed the first part of the task. Now the second part, using the UI policy, make the assigned to field mandatory for all states values except new or cancelled. We have to make we have to create a UI policy to make assigned to field mandatory for all states except new or cancelled. Here is the fastest way to go about it. Okay. Configure UI policy. Okay. We create a new UI policy. Here we write our short description. Assign to mandatory except new or cancelled. We need to write a good short description so that when we are reviewing our work or another colleague of us is reviewing our work, we will be able to understand what this is all about. Here we click on save. Then we choose our condition when this UI policy would be applied. It should be applied to state field. We can choose is one off. It's not one off. Yes, let's use this. It's not one off. Assigned using a UI assigned to field mandatory for all states value except new or cancelled. Yes, we can use this. There are two ways to this, but let's use this. It's not one of new or cancelled. Okay, we've set the condition. We've set the condition now. Then we'll create our UI action, UI policy action. Okay, here, what is the field that we want to be mandatory? We have our assigned to field. Here, we just mandatory, we make it true. Others we leave alone. Then we submit. Okay, while creating UI policy, we must note something. In our UI policy action, we have red here. That means the UI policy action has contradicted another baseline UI, another policy action in our system. So what we can do to this is that we configure our form view. Configure. We can here we can say our form layout. So our order feed, the order feed, we bring it to the selected uh, box here. Let me put it here. Then we save it. Once we save it, we will have the opportunity to see the order of the UI policy. From out of the box, when a UI policy is created, the order would be 100. If we check from the table, we will see, if we click on this, we will see that this has contradicted. Let us read the error message. There are multiple UI policy with the same order feed with the same order for this feed. There, their run order is not predictable. If we want to check the field, we can click on this just to explore, just for exploration. We see that this has contradicted. This is the one contradicted. So from this UI policy action, we have something that is contradicting the new order we created. Then what we have to do now is to ensure that the order is not the same. The order is changed. That was the reason I added order uh, to this form view, to this form. Then I will change mine to 200. I will change it to 200 so that the first one from the baseline will run before this. Okay, let's change it to 200. Let's see if the color changes. Yeah, amazing. As you can see, the red button that shows error here has been cleared. That means our UI policy action is good to go. Then we save it. So let's validate our task. Let's see if we have done the right thing, if everything is configured, is customized according to the requirement of this task. Let's see. Oh, failed. Okay, it's one of. Yes, we used to consider it's not one of. Yeah, as you can see, it's not one of. I selected it's not one of, but this did not check. It's not one of. Yes. Okay, we update. Then we click on validate task. Let's see. Oh, amazing. The it has been validated. The key thing is that when we are doing simulator task, even everything must be in line with the system requirement, because this instance it has been preloaded, everything has been configured to work smoothly. If you encounter any error, it is the best thing for you to check where the error is, then you will get it fixed and get the task done. Thank you very much for watching. What we have done from this session, what we have learned from this session is how to configure form, how to use dictionary override to make our tables mandatory, specific fields mandatory on our desired record, incident record. So we have some fields, that are mandatory, that inherited mandatory from the task table. As we all know that task table is one of our base table, and incident table inherited fields from the task table. So it's referencing the task table. So we made some fields, a field like short description inherited the mandatory from the task table. So we created a new dictionary override, a new dictionary in the task table to reference only, to make only for the incident table, so that it will be mandatory. And also some of the fields we ensure that they are mandatory. And also in the second part of the task, we created a UI policy action to ensure that assign to field is mandatory for all states except new or cancelled. Thank you guys. I will see you next time. Bye.